G'day, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Joey Wiggle Experience. It's great to all have you be back here once again. And the guest we have today is someone who has played an influential and important role in children's music over the last 50 years. In fact, he has worked all around the scene in folk music, all around the world, especially in children's music, where he released a bunch of records through ABC in the 80s and 90s. And it's a privilege to have him with me on the show. Please welcome Mr. Mike Jackson. G'day, Mike.
G'day. And it seems it catches up on you, but about 39 albums, I think, somewhere along the line. At one stage we did 4 albums in 4 weeks. And nearly killed us.
No, 4 albums in 4 weeks. That's crazy. That must have been a very busy time.
It was interesting. What in actual fact happened was Festival Music had some money that they wanted to put into recording, so we were the ones that they put in the studio. And I had this idea, instead of getting a dozen people in for each album, I got a dozen people in and they did 4 albums. So we had people like the Sydney String Quartet and half the jazz musos in Sydney involved in it, and it was just super time being involved in it. And then we did a 9-week tour of Canada and Alaska just to finish the thing off. Michelle at the end of that turned to me and she said, "I can't do this anymore." And I sadly lost my best partner, but gee, we had fun.
Yeah. You, like you said, you've been traveling all over the world, and it must have been quite an adventure as well, because there you are performing, music for adults, and then all of a sudden you're performing for kids, and then the next thing you know, you're going all around the world. It must have been an incredible journey.
Yeah, it started off actually. The kids thing started off at a place called the Gundroo Pub in Canberra, or just outside of Canberra. The bloke that owned it, Ron Murray, who's Murray's coaches, if you ever see them around the countryside, Ron decided that he'd do a family day at the Gundroo Pub, which he owned, and basically had the adults in the pub and the kids in the village hall. And my job was to entertain the adults and the kids. And I sort of started singing songs for kids, and didn't realise, but my childhood was full of funny songs. I actually had a grandfather who lay in bed for most of the time that I knew him, having had several strokes. And despite the fact that he had a fairly miserable existence, he'd be sitting there going, "Here we are again, happy as could be, all good pals and jolly good company. Never mind the weather, never mind the rain, as long as we're together, up she goes again. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-dee." So I had this world of funny songs, and a grandmother who sang opera and played piano, and so I was doomed. I was going to be a singer one way or another. And then I went on holidays. To a place.
Choice, really. It's like they kind of shoved it in your face, like, okay, guess this is where I'm going down.
Went on holidays to a place called Milford Haven in South Wales, and there was Bill, Auntie Daisy's son. He was an 18-year-old uni student, and he played the harmonica. And he gave me one lesson on the harmonica and gave me a rusty old mouth organ and said, "Go for it." And I did. And I went back home, and for 6 weeks of the summer holiday, I played the same tune over and over and over. My mother and father were just about to kill me by the time the holidays finished, but it got me started on the mouth organ, and I haven't looked back since.
It's incredible because it's like, and I think what really stands out about you as a performer, well, actually really more as an entertainer, is the fact that you are also known for playing a wide range of musical instruments. I mean, there's even instruments that I've never heard of, like I think the Dulcenheimer is one of them. Like, I didn't even know what that was, and then just to see you play it so masterfully, it's like I think that's what really makes me enjoy those kind of entertainers, Mike, is like those who are just they enjoy it and they're going through all the lessons and training to just entertain. They don't have to do
I think
anything else on top of that, or they're just entertaining.
for my world, I really did two things. One was show a range of instruments you didn't normally get to see, and two
Mm.
was show you a way of getting to music. I've taught, I reckon somewhere near 1 million people to play music over my life, and it's been just one lesson. I can remember one school teacher. I lent him my squeeze box over lunchtime and told him that playing the squeeze box was like playing the mouth organ. He said, "Oh, I play the mouth organ. Can I borrow your squeeze box?" And by the end of playtime, he came back to me with the biggest cheesiest grin on his face. And the next time I saw him, he was leading a bush band in Canberra, and he'd taught himself to play just as I did. I'm self-taught on all the instruments I play. I've usually had one lesson on playing it, and that's been my sort of guide in, and I've just played it and played it and played it until I broke it, so finally got a way of making music out of it. And so the hammered dulcimer that you mentioned before, there's two forms of dulcimer. One is a mountain dulcimer, which comes from America, 4 strings and very easy to play. The other one's quite complicated, as you probably said there, the hammered dulcimer, or yanqin as they call it in China. And the yanqin is 69 strings on my one, and you've got to try and hit the right strings with these two little sticks or hammers, and it can be good fun.
Yeah. I think for the anyone who wants to know what it is, I'll just say go and watch one of his videos or listen to one of his albums, because when you play it, it's so masterful, and it makes me question like how much like and it's pretty obvious that you've been surrounded by music your entire life, to the point, and even like you mentioned that you were self-teaching yourself, because was it just kind of like the love of music, like you just loved it so much that you wanted to learn more and more and more?
It was the fact that I could do it, I think, more than anything else. If I couldn't play it, I didn't play it. So I had lessons on the piano and the violin and still can't play either of them. But I've literally got through 15 instruments. And my ultimate was doing a concert for professors of music in West Australian University. And I got up there and I'm playing one after another instrument. They're, sort of amused by it all. But I then got a couple of juggling balls out of my bag and juggled and played at the same time. And
Well, there you go. That's a true entertainer, Mike. That is a true entertainer.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, aside from the professors, was I'm on another stage in another place, Warrnambool it was, the children's festival there, and I'm telling the kids, I was taught to juggle by a kid from a little school on the road from Melbourne to Bendigo, and this big bloke beside me said, I was the kid that taught you. So I actually learned to juggle from a child in a school. I'd tried for years to juggle and got nowhere. And I managed to get to juggle as a result of this child. It nearly brought me undone at one stage. I was in a primary school, year 6 performance, they're almost grown-ups. And I have this trick where I throw the ball up in the air and let it drop on the ground, and then I bounce juggle. Except this time I threw the ball up in the air, it gracefully came down and landed on the strap of my squeeze box and shot back up and hit me in a place where you really don't want to be hit. And so
No.
Yeah, 300 or 400 little primary school kids are roaring with laughter. So, what can you do in that circumstance? I just laughed along with them. And there I really
Yeah.
embarrassed myself because I laughed my false teeth out on the floor in front of me. And the kid down the front row said at the end of the concert, said, "Did you do that thing with your false teeth on purpose?" Get out of here, kid.
It's like, yeah, that was all intentional. Yeah, just like bouncing the ball where it hit me in the place I didn't want to be hit.
But the interesting thing is that a lot of what I did came from, sort of a joke or an accident in the concert, and I'd had another instrument. Or I'd actually
Mm.
learned the jaw harp from a chap called Warren Fay. More of Warren in a minute, but Warren was coming down the stairs, and I'd just bought a jaw harp. I said, "How do you play this thing?" And he said, "Oh, you hold it like this and twang the spring, and away you go." And within half an hour, I was playing tunes on it. I've been trying for years, cutting my lips to shreds on this darn thing. He just showed me how to hold it properly, and away I went. I said more of Warren Fay later. Warren was really the reason I eventually became a recording artist. He,
Mm.
I had an a cappella group in the 1970s called Pageant, and we fancied we were good enough to record, so we made an album, and I think we had 400 cassettes. You remember cassettes?
Yeah, because I mean, I was I'm in my late 20s, so it's like I kind of there was sort of phasing out in that point. It was more like
That's the one.
VHS. I was more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had 500 cassettes, and they've been bootlegged all over the place. So that got me started, and then I did before that I was on an album with a chap called Dave DeHugart, a wonderful singer of Aussie songs, an album called Man of the Earth. That was my first one, and then we did this pageant album and followed that up with an album called Patchwork. And Patchwork was a sort of play on what we were doing, because we were playing all manner of different songs on all manner of different instruments, and so it became like a patchwork quilt of music, and that sold, I suppose, about 3,000 or 4,000 copies, which I went over to England at one stage and was talking to the chap that ran Topic Records, and he said, "How many copies of your album have you sold?" And I said, "Oh, about 3 or 4,000." He said, "Goodness, we're lucky to sell 500 of any album we make." And it was just Australia has the advantage of being a small enough country that you can get to everybody in a matter of short time. So I had that, and then I'd been working as a children's entertainer for a while, and I basically asked Warren whether he would make an album of kids' songs. Because by this stage, I was full-time children's entertainer, and he said, "Oh yes." So we went into the studios and produced an album called Bunyips, Bunnies and Brumbies. And my advice to anybody who wants to find me on the internet is put my name in, Mike Jackson, with the word Bunyips, because the other Michael Jackson had stuff all
Yeah,
to do with it.
the amount of times I tried to search for you and it just came up with the other Michael.
Yeah.
One Michael.
I didn't mind too much until he started dangling
Was that part
babies.
of the reason? Sorry, I was going to say, was that part of the reason why you decided to go by Mike Jackson? Was it just to avoid the confusion of being called Michael Jackson as well? Or?
It was that, yes.
Mm.
There's a thing in England. I don't know whether it still persists, but in England, if you had a name that was the same as a famous person, the person who had the name first got to use it. You didn't. You weren't allowed to live off the earnings of another artist. You had to
It's a bit
basically.
annoying too sometimes because it's like, especially when you have to go through like, oh, what do I change my name to? Because it's like, yeah. But I think
Bands.
Mike still works fine. I think it's a great,
Yeah.
good, easy change, not too
The,
complicated.
the only thing is, if anybody calls me Mick, my mother will come back and haunt them. She did not handle me being called Mick very well. But yeah, so we recorded Bunyies, Bunnies and Brumbies, and
And that was for the ABC, right? That was also at
it
the
was,
same time because the ABC,
initially,
like you mentioned, they were Australia was pretty because Australia was the four. I don't know how prominent it was compared to other countries, but I think it's been pretty influential, particularly back in the day. And I think it was no surprise for many artists to be signed by the ABC because they were really the leaders when it comes to children's entertainment. So how was that? How did it make you feel when you when you not only got asked to record a children's album, but it was going to be recorded and produced by the ABC themselves?
in actual fact, it happened thus. We made the album and released it, and then an outfit called Telmac released the album on telemarketed, so it sold about 60,000 copies, which is not
Oh
bad.
wow! For children's,
Yeah,
that's a lot actually. Yeah.
it was a big lot, and so we sold lots of it at that stage, and then Warren managed to persuade the ABC to take us on for Playmates, and Playmates became a massive hit. I don't know how many we've gone through, but it's 130 odd thousand or more, and it's officially a platinum disc. Bunyip's was a gold disc, and Playmates was a platinum disc. And we basically,
Playmates also featured the iconic Bananas and Pajamas theme song, which I, by the way, really enjoy your version as well. There's a lot of versions I enjoy. I think yours is quite interesting because it's very slapsticky. I really enjoy it.
I'm very naughty. I was the naughty ABC artist. Everybody else got to do the straight things, and I got to do the, sort of slightly, Kookaburra sits on the electric wire, jumping on the fence on fire. Sort of lot of tongue in cheek stuff, and
Yeah.
so we basically released Playmates, and it just went gangbusters. It was amazing, and I was for a time Mr. Bananas and Pajamas. I beat B1 and B2, and also helped launch the Wiggles. So I had a
Yeah,
interesting.
it's crazy. Well, yeah, Mark, it's so crazy when you think when everything lines up the way it does. Like, if it hadn't been for like shows like that, popularizing the Bananas and Pajamas, it's like it's crazy because when I think about how all this stuff kind of took off, like the Wiggles, the Bananas, everything else, it makes me always go back to play school and the role that it's played in Australian society and the fact that it's given other artists as well that kind of platform. It's crazy, and I think I think the songs you do, I I think because they're funny as well, because that's the
Yeah,
thing that we always want to hear when we're kids. It's like we want to have a laugh, we want to laugh at everything, and I think by making it funny, it just makes life so much easier. It's so much better for everyone.
I think really the play school, particularly John Hamlin and the Noni and their naughty bits, just made the program. I always, if there's a child in the room, I address the child. I address the child before I address the adult, because mostly, the children should be seen and not heard is a really wrong way to go with kids.
Oh, it
If
is
you
so wrong, and I agree. Yeah.
if you
Because
engage with
like you
them,
said, you learned how to juggle from a kid. So it's like, what does that even mean? Nothing.
yeah. No, so basically, my sons and I are both horse whispers, baby whisperers. I've had a trick where I have a tiny little mouth organ, and if there's a shrieking baby on a plane, I go over and stand on the end of the row where the baby's sitting and play Twinkle Twinkle. And by the time I've got halfway through Twinkle Twinkle, the baby's gone from wah to and everybody on the plane is going with two fingers. They're clapping.
That's great. That's so brilliant.
It's just lovely. Coming out of Finland at one stage, and there's two babies on the plane going for it, really screaming, and I calmed both of them. And at the end of the flight, there's this absolutely drop-dead gorgeous blonde Finnish flight attendant came up to me and said, "Mr. Jackson, do you mind if I give you a hug?" I said, "No, but what for?" She said, "I've never seen anybody do that. Not in all my years of being a flight steward. And it costs nothing. It costs absolutely nothing, and it makes everybody's life a little bit better." So I've always, or almost always, got an instrument with me to play a tune on, and it's been, and it's still the same. I mean, I'm now in a what they call it, retired.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so,
And
Mike.
I'm still playing.
A lot.
Still playing and loving playing. It's beautiful life. It really is. Yeah. So.
And I think that's what, I think that's the beauty of music. It's like when it brings people together and it makes us happy and reminisce as well. And I think your ability to do that as well. I mean, to do that for a baby that was like crying on a plane, that like you said, costs nothing.
Yeah.
It's such a great way of showing compassion, humanity. I think a lot of entertainers, I mean, those who genuinely are entertainers in the industry for children, they have that kind of natural kind of chemistry. Like they don't overdo anything. It's always very natural, and I think that was a very natural way to help a crying baby on a plane, because we just need more of that, and then we'll be fine.
I mentioned Noni before. Noni disappeared at
Amazing. Oh, so talented. Amazing.
She disappeared.
I remember I saw her live a few times too. I saw a couple of her performances, Mike, and she's just absolutely like an incredible performer on stage, and just and her ability to cry on command is just so incredible. Like I have never seen anyone like that.
Yeah, she disappeared at Woodford Folk Festival. We found her eventually, and she was sitting in the middle of the sandpit playing sandcastles with the kids. She's just utterly gorgeous.
Mm.
Noni. And back to my life. I found people would ask me to write a song about something or write an album about something, and it's interesting. The weather forecaster here in Queensland at one stage said, "How do you write songs?" And I said, "People ask me to write about something, and I write about it." She said, "Write about me." Her name was Jenny Woodward, so reading weather here in Queensland would leave a person vexed, for climate's fine on one day and perfect on the next. Yes, the weather here in Queensland is really rather good. But if she could make it better, then Jenny would.
When people beg to write a song, just be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. My son Tom is quite an artist, and he, as an 8-year-old, he drew a set of pictures for me. And my manager said, "Why don't you write a poem for us?" So I wrote. This one was a little devil with horns and tail and trident. I've just thought of someone I'd like you to know. It's my little brother. He's pictured below. I don't think my mum sees his horns or his tail or is that wrong thing he uses, as sharp as a nail. She thinks he's an angel. God, doesn't she know how he torments me daily in ways that don't show? He always tells tales and he whinges a lot. But when he shares his toys, he's the best mate I've got, my brother.
Just, yeah. Oh, wonderful. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So coming back to the, you mentioned before that the Playmates sold about 60,000. Was that in Australia alone or globally?
It's 130,000 and it was in Australia.
Oh my! Oh wow! And that's also because of the fact that the TV show was popular as well, and
Yeah, yeah.
and it would feature you and because obviously the first early albums was released under you and Michelle. So what was it like performing with Michelle?
Brilliant. She was an exquisite musician and a great. If again, like Noni, if she wasn't around, she was somewhere in the playground teaching string games or learning string games or picking up songs from the kids. She just adored children, so she was great to perform with. When she and I split up, I had to send over to England to get a partner, a chap called Ian Blake, who was multi instrumental. You mentioned Rufty Tufty. He's the energy behind that album. And I should explain
The
where.
Tufty afloat on the boat too, I think, was it?
Yeah, yeah, he was Rufty Tufty afloat in a boat, Toy Box Bop, and a whole series of Australian classics stories. But he just basically drove the albums. His musicality was just brilliant. And mentioning Bunyip's, Bunnies and Brumbies, I have to confess that I didn't originate the idea of folk music for children. There was an album in England called The Funny Family that I think you probably still, if you track the man down, still has a dozen of those albums tucked under the bed. But The Funny Family was brilliant album and done by a lady called Alison McMorland. And I saw the way she approached the thing and thought that we could do that. So we did, and they're very, very popular albums.
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, exactly. And it's incredible to see. And I had no idea, Mike, that they sold that much because usually when we talk about people, I mean, artists selling children's albums, they usually sell within, like you would mention, maybe 1,000 or two. I mean, depending on what the market is in Australia and who's really the most popular act at the moment. I mean, back then it would have been any artist from Play School or even Peter Coombe, but I'm surprised that it was like 130,000 plus for Playmates. Like I had no idea that it sold that much. That's it. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm sort of looking across it. I've got a gold disc for Bunyip's, Bunnies and Brumbies and for Dances with Little Kids. And also Ain't It Great to Be Crazy, and a platinum for Bunyip's, Bunnies, sorry, for Playmates. But every single one of my albums, and there were a lot of them, they all sold out. We didn't actually end up with a pile of albums propping up a bed, as some poor souls did. And,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
interesting.
I
And
was lucky to have been at the beginning, and to
mm,
have been able to watch the likes of the Wiggles and Hooly Doolies coming past. Franciscus Henry, Peter Coon, they were all launched as a result of Michelle and I's little efforts at the beginning. We were the first in, and I think in some ways we were the luckiest because we had a very big following by the time we'd done.
mm, that's it's incredible to think that so much of what's happened is literally it all stems from like you, Michelle, and like Play School, and just so many other great performers like John Hamblin, Noni Hazelhurst. I mean, there's just so many wonderful performers out there who I feel like just don't get the credit that they deserve because a lot of what's happened and how the like it's like when you look at the Wiggles and how they influence the world. It's like it's important to remember that their inspiration to, like, for example, talking down the barrel of the camera so it feels like they're actually talking to you through the camera was an idea. I mean, I'm not saying Play School was the first, but it was really popularized on Play School when they talked to you and you felt like they were speaking to you through the camera. So it's kind of like just those little interventions is what really defines, what children's entertainment should be today. And I think Australia did a really good job of that back in the day. And I think, I feel like they deserve the credit like the same as everyone else. And I think,
I
yeah,
think
just having you on here talking about it is just, yeah, it's such a privilege.
I'm so lucky. I still remember the first time I played in the Sydney Opera House. I was in a pub in Sydney talking to a chap called Cliff Atkinson. He's looking for a band to launch to test the Sydney Opera House acoustics for folk music. I said, I've got a band. So 5 of us came down from Canberra and did what there must have been a dozen people capable of doing in Sydney, but we got the gig. And what made that special wasn't the money, because we didn't make any money out of it, but I got my name on the door of my dressing room. Wow. It was like,
Yeah, yeah, that no money can replace that. That's
it's just absolutely insane. And,
mm.
the being in the right place at the right time.
Mm.
I, when
So you
the
feel it was being lucky as well, because like you mentioned, you felt like you were very lucky, particularly in that time period when children's entertainment was starting to take off in Australia as well, and you felt like you and Michelle were there at the right time. I mean, particularly because you
very
guys were,
much
yeah, because like I think also the folk music as well, and honestly, I'm going to be honest, Mike. In recent years, I've grown to really love folk music to the point where I've
yeah,
even went to Nariel. I went to the Nariel Folk Festival.
wow.
And yeah, it's like it's such a different world, a different environment, and I love it so much.
It's lovely that real people create real music. There's
Oh,
sort
it
of
is. That's what it
yeah,
feels like, and I think just speaking with you, it's like having a normal. It's like you completely forget that they have a influ. It's like they've played a long career role, and then you talk to them and it's like, oh, they're just like normal down to earth people, and it's so humbling, and there's no like greed, there's no like mindset of like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to get attention, or it's like, no, we just like being there because it's all about community. That's it. What I like about it, what I really loved about it so much was the community and how everyone came together, and it wasn't like over the top. And I'm going to be honest, Mike, to be out there and to see what the stars really look like. compared to being in the city, because I live in the city of Melbourne, so it's like it's you can never find it there because there's too many lights. And when you're in Nariel, you're seeing what space really looks like.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is so
Yeah,
beautiful, and I think that's
yeah,
what life's all about. You just gotta live in the moment, and I think being at Nariel helped me live in the moment, and that's why I really grew appreciation for folk music
mm,
since.
yeah. Speaking of Nariel, the festival itself was started by a family called the Clipples, and it's just wonderful watching them still 40 years later.
Mm.
The two generations have gone and they're still playing their music and still dancing.
Yeah, still passing down generation to generation, and
Yes.
even I'm going to be perfectly honest, Mike. This might be a little bit inappropriate, but even there was one point where I was there for New Year's Eve, and as soon as it hit the midnight, it was a big celebration, and then most of us, some of us, including myself, went down to the river completely butt naked, and we were all just singing folk music, and it's like it's so, and we were singing all these Irish songs like "Wade in the Water," "The Royal Regard." It's like, and also what I really enjoyed about it is, like I said, the community. Like it was just it it was one of the most special New Year's Eve celebrations that I've ever experienced in my life. That I would love to experience every single time because of the community.
I learned levitation at Nariel Creek. I was diving into the river or the creek one day, and as I dived in, they're sitting on the bank, looking up at me, was a big brown snake,
Oh,
and
oh,
my other walking on water moment was a friend and I had gone back wobbling down the creek, and we got down to this area where the cattle go into the water, and I suddenly felt something nip my foot. I looked down and there's a big leech on my foot. I absolutely walked on water to get out of that place.
oh, God. Would have been uncomfortable. Would have been just long. I'll get it all.
Yeah, wasn't the best moment in my life, I can tell you.
Yeah. No, it is really just living life. I mean, I think that's what really living life is about. You're just in the environment of, you're surrounded by all this lovely nature and the river as well.
Mm,
And you're surrounded by all this wonderful music, and there's nothing that's screaming at the top of their lungs, and it's like there's no music that's blasting too loud, and it's just very calming. It's almost like meditating without having to close your eyes.
yeah, yeah, no, it's true.
It's
So,
really, yeah, I really enjoy it, and that's why I want to keep doing that more, and yeah, keep getting guests who performed in the folk music circle. Yeah, because I think that they're like they're just so humbling, and
yeah,
yeah. But where was I now? Oh yeah, so the 90s roll around, and obviously more and more children's acts are coming around, and they're starting to take off. Like we mentioned, the Wiggles started around that time period. They started taking off, and they started breaking all. I mean, they broke all the records. Let's be clear. Like they really broke all the records with their first albums, and then yeah, they also did the ABC concerts, and you yourself performed with Ian Blake. There's videos. They've even got videos of you guys performing together on stage with all the ABC artists. Did it feel like a Did you feel like you were on top of the country, you and Ian, when you guys were performing with all the ABC artists, and you realize we're performing with the best when it comes to children's entertainment?
I was a little odd in that I basically spent my life entertaining in schools, so I didn't ever sort of go for the bulk audiences that the Wiggles went for. I was, sort of mostly the biggest audience would be 200 or 300 kids. But watching them go past as was exciting. It was just lovely, and they're a lovely bunch of guys. They really are. Oh, guys and girls these days. But
Yeah.
and I can actually claim to have once um, replaced the entire Wiggles. I was doing it. Was done on tour in Sydney, and I got this desperate phone call. Could I do a concert at this preschool? The Wiggles had been double booked, and I went and did the concert. And they thought they got the better part of it, because at the time I was famous and the Wiggles weren't. But watching them, my only regret of the Wiggles is that they were basically aimed at 4 to 5 year olds in this sort of little ghetto. If you listen to my albums, there are songs for little kids, songs for big kids, songs for grown-ups and grannies. They're not what I call
It does feel
ghettoized.
like that, yeah. I do agree. Like it does when you listen to the music. I mean, yeah, like while it is, some of them are clearly aimed at kids. It almost feels timeless because of the fact that I think as well, if you've listened to it as a kid and you listen to it now, like 40 years later, I think that's the magic of nostalgia. It feels timeless
Yeah.
because now you're listening to it along with the kids, and it just feels like it's made for you again.
Yeah.
And that's what I really enjoy about these kind of music, is that it feels timeless in a way. I mean, even for the Wiggles, like, yes, while they were aimed at preschoolers, I feel like at this point in time, I feel like if you got those original, if you get Murray, Greg, Jeff, and Anthony on stage together again at at the MCG, I'm pretty sure hundreds and thousands are going to rock up, because it's like it's pretty much the fact that everyone grew up with them, and I think it's very powerful. It shows the power of what children's entertainment in Australia was like. I mean, the ABC were really like the pioneers when it came to children. I mean, they really deserve more global recognition in a way for distributing these wonderful artists, and bringing them into Australian children's homes all over the country. Like everyone grew up with them.
Yeah. Look at touring, and 2 of my albums got taken up by a record company in Canada and distributed over there. And the people that took on my albums were like the Wiggles and like Holy Doolies and what have you. Just really lovely songs, really lovely.
Oh, was it Sharon Lewis and Brum?
Sharon Lewis and Brown.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Skinnamarink dinky dink, skinnamarink doo. I love you. Skinnamarink dinky dink, skinnamarink doo. Love me too. I love you in the morning and in the afternoon. I love you in the afternoon.
I love you. Yeah, great song. Love it.
Yeah, they were the same sort of target audience as we were doing. Very, very much arrangements for adults, songs for kids, and just lovely music. Really, I consider myself very privileged to have been somewhere among them. Yeah, it's a great time. And I finished up with 2 sons that both sing and perform, and it's been a joy watching them. Lazy Kieran, and now a Queensland policeman, but he runs the Queensland Police Rock Band and the Queensland Police Pipe Band. And Tom, my young son Tom, he's now a teacher, but in previous years he's been a gun ukulele player. really good fun, both of them, to be around.
And it's interesting that you do the ukulele as well because I noticed as well in more recent years that you've even been offering and teaching ukulele lessons. Is that because of the fact that the ukulele? I mean, I'm not someone who knows how to play the ukulele, but I've heard of it's pretty easy to learn. I think.
I have a system of teaching that works on the basis of press your finger on that red dot, strum the strings, and then do that. And, now, I've got a ukulele here, I can actually demonstrate.
Oh, I didn't know. That's brilliant.
Up the
Oh
top there,
yeah,
you've
that's
got
right. The
a
stickers.
little red dot. So you press your finger on that red dot and strum the strings. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now two yellow dots. 1, 2. Frere Jacques, dormez-vous, sloppy semolina, sloppy semolina, yuck, 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 yuck. And two yellow dots until I say go to all red.
Oh.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12, gonna rock around 9 o'clock tonight. And with that, they're playing ukulele. We've got
That
one.
is so incredible. I mean, I think that's a pretty fun way to learn as well. I think that's why it's become
Yeah,
a pretty popular instrument for anyone who wants to learn a basic instrument.
I've sold. We're talking about albums sold. I've sold about 1 million books on how to play ukulele. They're all across America and Australia and England. Yeah, busy little bee.
Is he? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
it's wonderful that you're teaching the ukulele, for another new generation of budding musicians who want to, be in the who want to learn
I,
it. I think that's the thing as well. I think it's when you're learning to play an instrument, it makes you feel like you've achieved something as well. And also, I think I like the idea that it gives you power to feel like so happy to be like playing something that spreads joy.
yeah. I I think having there's one of the community officers in this home that I'm in now that I taught to play ukulele, and he can actually play better than me now. And he's sharing the music. Or Jenny Borrellini's up in Mackay, and Jenny, within a week of meeting me, was playing the ukulele for the first time and playing it professionally. And it's that sort of moments of sharing music that, to me, are so special. Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah,
When you look back on because now when we come up to the the world today, and obviously it's a much different world than it was back then, and unfortunately we're seeing a rise in certain technologies that are kind of taking over people's ability to create music themselves. And I think it's just when you have to rely on a computer or an artificial AI kind of like machine to do that for you. Does it worry you in a way? Because like when you see that starting to take over people actually playing the instruments, does it? Because there's obviously a difference between having a computer make the music for you and you actually performing the music yourself. And it's interesting that I bring this up with you because you play a whole bunch of instruments that you self-taught yourself. How does it make you feel when you see that I don't know I don't know how often you see it, but the fact that there's a rise in people just using the computer to do the music for them.
I think there's something about playing music that transcends anything you can do, on AI. It's that thing of being able to create. I've only moved my finger a centimeter, and I can be making up a tune. I'm not going to make up a tune now, but the immediacy of it is astonishing. The trouble with AI and the rest of it is you've got to plug it all in and create it, and it becomes too complicated, really. Simplicity is what makes music work. If you listen to a rock and roll album, you, just use a dun 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 dun. That's instant. You get a bunch of people on stage with that. You can do it without any electricity, without anything other than the voices. It's such. Yeah, so I don't fear for music. I think music will go on for a long, long time. And the same with written word. Written word is going to continue because it's so immediate. And you've got, say, a soldier sitting in the trenches writing about his life there and what's happening to him, and it just gets you gut. It's not something that you have to do for technique. It's just there. Bob Dylan and all his writing is so simple, most of it, but so complicated.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like we had when we were speaking to Peter Coombe. I mean, most of the songs he wrote were basically just two chords. I mean, it's really that I mean, sometimes it's just that easy, and we just need to just give it a try, even if it doesn't work. It's better to give it a try than to give up and be like, oh, I can't do this. I'm gonna have AI do this all for me.
I just don't think it works like that. I think that
like you said, it's not authentic, and it's not not real. It's not like the kind of feeling that you would get at Nariel. Nariel's the complete opposite, which is why I love it again.
Yeah, I mean, you listen to what's his face? What's the red-headed bloke with the guitar? Oh, gee, can't think of his name now. But the singer-songwriter that just him and the guitar on stage, and it's just the most magic sound. Or John Denver.
Oh, John
just
Denver.
one guitar, one voice, and away he goes, or away he went before he died. And you just completely transported, and that's life is wonderful, and you can do that. Yeah, so yeah.
I think we just need to keep that alive. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't mind the technology in a way because obviously we're getting to that point where life's going to become easier because of the way AI is helping. But in a way, when it gets too easy for everything, especially when you're an artist, I think that's what scares me the most because it's like having all that wonderful history of music being taken away from you. And I think it's the most authentic, it's the most real kind of human emotion we can have. And I think, I mean, a computer cannot replace ever the human brain. I don't think it'll get to that capacity. I mean, it worries me that it will, but I'm hopeful that it doesn't. Like, it's not going to be the same as the human brain. So I think we can. At the moment, we're pretty fine at the moment, but yeah.
I think that AI was just basically fade away into the distance. You know when something's been invented by a bloke? it saves 5 minutes in the doing and takes 25 minutes to wash up afterwards.
Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't take too long for it to wash up. We yet to
Uh,
find out.
we tend to rely too much on artificial anything, and in
Yeah,
fact, when you're done and said all, the albums that I've produced, the best ones are things like "Afloat in a Boat." There's the simplest ones. There's no great amount of folderols and twiddles on them. They really work. Yes,
yeah.
but,
I think it's
yeah.
and you've mentioned as well. We'll wrap up soon, but before we do, you mentioned as well that your favorite album was a float in a boat. So why was a float in a boat your favorite?
Simplicity. It was basically we had one day to do it in, and
Wait, one
basically,
day you
yeah,
recorded it in one day.
yeah.
Oh, that's incredible, Mike.
Mm.
Very
So
interesting.
we basically, and they're just lovely moments on it, really. And yeah, both Ian and I reckon that was our best album. Toy Box Pop is a good one too, but
Mm,
the the Floating the Boat is a great one.
float in a boat. It's wonderful to hear. When you look back and you listen and you find out that people are listening to your music still through, because now they're on music streaming sites like Spotify and YouTube Music and Apple and all that kind of stuff. How does it make you feel knowing that now your music is being preserved and will continue to be listened for years and years to come?
Delighted, but I find the whole idea of Apple Music and Spotify a frustration because it's a great way of distributing the music, but it's not a great way of paying for the music, for artists that have written songs and what have you.
Yeah,
And I lament the passing of the CD because the CD you could knock up a dozen CDs and send them out to people if you wanted to distribute your music. Where now trying to get it out on the internet, if you made an album and put it on the internet and Spotify or whatever, it gets lost completely. Yeah,
mm,
the albums that I've produced that have basically gone out, they, they literally produced nearly no cost, and they they're out there doing their bit. They're not ignored. But the CD was, I think, a pretty good substitute for the cassette. The
and the
cassette was
vinyl.
great because, yeah, the cassette was great because it could be, you can make one copy of it or 1,000 copies of it.
Yeah,
Vinyl's great. I've got 3,500 vinyl LPs, but it's not the same as the CD, which is easy to access, easy to copy, duplicate, or whatever. It was really the best of music, I think, when you can produce a high quality album on CD. When now you produce that same high quality album, then you've got to try and find some way of distributing it. So,
yeah. It can be frustrating too because it's like especially when you like you mentioned when your music gets put on the music streaming sites, it's just the like you mentioned trying to get the right connections of like who wrote these songs and then they're distributed properly, and sometimes they don't do it right and it can be really frustrating. So yeah. Mm,
yeah,
But
It's,
I think it's important to remember as well, and I think most of the artists I've spoken to have agreed. I think it's really more of the idea that the fact that people are listening to the music and like showing their appreciation as well. I think that, and I think it's much more. I mean, for the artist, not for the songwriter. Sorry, I don't want to make it sound like the songwriter should be appreciative, even if they're not getting paid. I think just the artists themselves, with their music being heard by new generations, it's quite rewarding in a way, in a lot of ways. But yeah,
yeah,
hopefully I'm hoping it'll improve over time. But yeah, but it is good to have you here, and and obviously your music is very much a part of so many childhoods as well, particularly in Australia and even internationally as well. I mean, it's so. How often would you tour overseas when you would do promote your albums?
how often I was over there every year for
Because you mentioned that
most.
the albums went popular in Canada and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, toured in Canada and the US and
Oh yeah,
England.
in England
So
as
it's
well. Yeah,
yeah, even got up to Scotland. It was good fun.
Scottish, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
learned about driving over
it's
there.
brilliant.
We
It's brilliant.
drive like mad things. Yeah. Anyway, I'm running out of battery here, so I better.
Oh no, that's all right. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah, we were gonna wrap up because I knew we got through an hour, but yeah, that is it's wonderful to chat with you, Mike. Thank you so much for kindly taking the time to chat with us, and thank you all for listening to this wonderful episode of the podcast. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and to also listen to this episode via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and yeah, thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. And yeah, take care.